We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of these and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing, and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Wole Soyinka, born Akiwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, stands as one of Africa's most celebrated literary figures and a global icon of resistance against oppression. His life and works reflect an unwavering commitment to justice, culture, and the transformative power of art. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in colonial Nigeria, an environment that exposed him to both traditional African culture and Western education. His father, Samuel Ayodele Soyinka, was a school headmaster, while his mother, Grace Eniola Soyinka, was a devoted Anglican. This blend of indigenous and colonial influences deeply shaped Soyinka's world. Soyinka attended Government College Ibadan and later proceeded to the University College Ibadan, where he studied English and literature. Soyinka completed his education at the University of Leeds in England, earning a degree in English and later a doctorate degree. In the late 1950s, Soyinka began working as a dramaturgist at the Royal Court Theatre in London. However, his passion for storytelling and cultural preservation drew him back to Nigeria, where he founded two theatre groups known as the 1960 Masque and the Orisun Theatre Company. Soyinka's works, often a fusion of Western dramatic techniques and African themes, address universal issues of justice, freedom, and human dignity. His early play, titled A Dance of the Forest, which was introduced in 1960, written to celebrate Nigeria's independence, critically examined the nation's socio-political trajectory, setting the tone for his career as both artist and activist. Soyinka's activism became more visible during Nigeria's post-independence years. In 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he called for a ceasefire between federal forces and Biafran separatists. This led to his arrest by the military government, and he spent 22 months in prison, where he wrote a short drama titled The Man Died, Prison Notes, a harrowing account of his imprisonment and a profound critique of authoritarianism. Soyinka has authored more than 20 works, including plays, novels, poetry, and essays. In 1986, Soyinka became the first African to win the Nobel Prize of Literature, an achievement that brought global recognition to African literature. Soyinka remained an outspoken critic of oppressive regimes, often at great personal risk. His activism extended beyond Nigeria, addressing global issues of injustice and human rights. During periods of military rule in Nigeria, he went into exile, continuing to write and speak against tyranny. Today, Soyinka is celebrated not only as a literary giant, but also as a symbol of resilience and moral courage.
Muhammad Yunus was born on the 28th of June 1940 in the village of Batwa, Chittagong, a British Indian colony which is currently known as Bangladesh. He attended Lama Bazar Primary and Secondary School in his village and passed the matriculation examination into Chittagong Collegiate School, where he ranked 16th out of 39,000 students. After his graduation in 1961, Yunus joined the Bureau of Economics as a research assistant and was later appointed lecturer of economics at the Chittagong College. During that time, he also set up a profitable packaging factory on the side. In 1965, he received a Fulbright scholarship to study in the United States, where he obtained his PhD in economics from the Vanderbilt University Graduate Program in Economic Development. Between 1969 and 1972, after his keen education excellence of apex heights and proportions in the United States, he returned home and was appointed professor of economics at the University of Chittagong. He was eventually appointed onto the board of directors to the United Nations Foundation, where he served for 33 years. When Bangladesh suffered a famine in 1974, Yunus felt he had to do something for the very poor. In his country, he founded the Grameen Bank. His motivation was to create economic and social development for the very poor, giving long-term loans to those who wanted to start small enterprises to pay back when they can. The aim to help was to get many of them out of poverty. For this, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. Muhammad Yunus is a recipient of numerous international awards for his ideas and endeavors, including the Humanitarian Award in 1993, World Food Prize in 1994, Independence Day Award in 1987, Bangladesh's highest award, the King Hussein Humanitarian Leadership Award in 2000. He was also awarded the Volvo Environment Prize in 2003, Nikkei Asia Prize for Regional Growth in 2004, Franklin D. Roosevelt Freedom Award in 2006, as well as the Souq Peace Prize in the same year. All humans are born entrepreneurs, he would always fondly say. His heart showed through his everyday life.
Eko Atlantic has become Nigeria's most sought-after city for its high-end infrastructure, prestige, and well-planned city layout, as reflected in an 8-lane boulevard, about 13 internal bridges, underground cables and green footprints defined by over 30,000 trees. Additionally, having a building in the city has become a trend among the so-called big boys, as was the case with Old Ikoyi, Victoria Garden City, popularly called VGC, Osborne Foreshore, and now Banana Island. In this special report, Bayo Olaoye states that this talk of "I belong" and the prestige mentality has also spread to the big firms. Before now, Kingsway and Ozumba Mbadiwe used to say that Victoria Island were the go-to locations for high-rise office buildings. These locations are home to iconic developments such as Kingsway Towers, Heritage Palace, Fanfa Towers, the Wings and the Waves, among others, making them Nigeria's equivalent of Silicon Valley. The Eco-Atlantic City was modeled after the skyscraper district of Manhattan Island in New York City. It has become the new destination for big-ticket corporate firms which are building or relocating their new headquarters to the 10-square-kilometer city, rising off the coast of the Atlantic Ocean in Lagos. The city is attracting investment interests in both residential and commercial real estate, the latest being MTN Nigeria, preparing to build a new headquarters. MTN is coming on the heels of First Bank, which recently turned the turf to build a 40-floor corporate head office, making the city's most iconic development so far. Prior to this courageous and ambitious entry into Eco City by MTN, First Bank, Dangote Group, and the Embassy of the United States of America have taken positions there, developing a new head office and a diplomatic facility respectively. Much earlier, a co-development company had occupied the city as the developer of the Azuri Towers, offering both residential and commercial facilities for high clients and corporate bodies. Arkaland Property Investment and Oak Homes are also in the city, developing A&A towers simultaneously. These are the residential developments that will be standing on the 22nd floor and the 33rd floors respectively. Other developments are the Pan-African Towers by Periwinkle Residences, Eco Pearl with Champagne Tower and Eco Pearl Black Tower, Amni Towers and Ani International Petroleum Development Company, and Louisville Towers by Total Energy Staff Cooperative and Multipurpose Society. Louisville will comprise 300 residential homes spread between 2 towers, a world-class sporting center and a club, retail outlets, and other facilities. It is designed to employ modern technology to achieve smart living and high standards. Eco-Atlantic is an exclusive luxury city with superior infrastructure that appeals to the kind of investors we have seen in the city so far.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of these and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
It's a beautiful Monday morning on Souq News Television, and you're welcome to the news update where we'll bring you developmental news stories from Nigeria and across the world. I am Grace Komolafe. We'll begin from a very key story where Nigeria's total public debt has increased by 57.3 trillion naira within the first 18 months of President Bola Tinubu's administration, a 65.6% rise from 87.38 trillion naira in June 2023 to 144.67 trillion naira by December 2024. Data from the Debt Management Office shows external debt nearly doubled in naira terms, rising from 33.25 trillion naira to 70.29 trillion naira, while domestic debt rose from 54.13 trillion naira to 74.38 trillion naira. In dollar terms, total debt dropped from $113.42 billion to $94.23 billion, mainly because the naira weakened from 770.38 naira per dollar to 1,153, 153 per dollar, increasing the naira value of dollar loans. The federal government alone accounts for over 90% of naira's total debt. Most of the new domestic debt came from turning the 22.7 trillion naira ways and means loan from the central bank into tradable bonds. Meanwhile, the government plans to borrow another $500 million from the World Bank to boost agriculture and create jobs. And moving on, investors on the Nigerian exchange recorded a turnover of 2,645 million shares, worth 77 billion naira in 86,110 deals last week. This marked a rise from the previous week's 2,200 million shares, valued at 75.4 billion naira. The market capitalization grew by 1,690 billion naira to close at 68.339 trillion naira, while the all shares index rose to 180,733.40 points. The financial services sector led trading with 1,668 million shares, worth 44.825 billion naira. Guarantee Trust Holdings, Access Holdings, and Tantalizer were the top three equities by volume, accounting for 839.689 million shares, worth 27.737 billion naira. Market sentiment stayed positive with 68 gainers, 28 losers, and 52 unchanged stocks. Meanwhile, trading in Golden Guinea Berries PLC shares was suspended for failing to submit its financial results. In suspension will remain until the company meets the reporting requirements. Despite some declines, investor confidence stayed strong, especially in key sectors like financial services. Still on financial matters, the Central Bank of Nigeria increased its treasury bills offer to 550 billion naira, up from 400 billion naira in the previous auction. It covered the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day tenors. Despite the higher offer, investor demand dropped as total subscriptions fell by 29.45% to 1,010 billion naira. Still, the CBN allotted 598.33 billion naira, an increase of 8.79% from the previous auction. Stop rates stayed unchanged at 18% for the 91 days and 18.5% for the 182-day bills, while the 364-day bill rose slightly to 19.63%. Demand remained strong for the 364-day bill, which drew nearly 88% of total bills. In the secondary market, average yields dipped to 20.97% from 21.07% as more investors turned thereafter in auctions. The CBN also offered 500 billion naira in long-term bills through an open market operations auctions and sold 756.74 billion naira. Stop rates stood at 22.65% and 22.72%. Meanwhile, bond and Eurobond yields dropped slightly, reflecting increased investor interest across fixed income market. And in another story, the National Identity Management Commission, NIMS, has increased the prices of National Identification Number NIN services, citing inflation and the need for self-sustenance. As May 1, the cost of correction, a date of birth now stands at 28,574 naira, up from 74.87% from the former 16,340 naira. Changes to names of addresses now cost 2,000 naira, up from 1,522 naira, while first-time NIN registration remains free. Reissuing lost or damaged slips now costs 600 naira instead of 500 naira. Premium services now go for 20,000 naira, and VIP slip reissuance is priced at 3,500 naira. For Nigerians abroad, adult enrollment in African countries now costs $50, children $30, and corrections up to $55. In non-African countries, name changes cost $60. NIM said the new prices reflect rising costs and aligns with rates from similar agencies. And away from that, in a concerning development, at least 119,000 users' accounts in Nigeria have been compromised in 2025, according to a new report by cybersecurity firm Souq. This marks a significant risk to businesses and individuals alike, as compromised data such as email addresses, passwords, and other personal information become easy targets for cybercrimes. Souq's findings revealed that Nigeria ranks third in sub-Saharan Africa with a staggering 23.2 million total breaches since 2004, while Nigeria saw an 85% decrease in data breaches from the last quarter of 2024 to the first quarter of 2025. The country still faces major vulnerabilities. An average of one Nigerian account is exposed to every minute this year. Among the compromised data, 7.3 million unique email addresses were leaked, along with 13 million passwords, creating a significant security threat to businesses operating in the region. The breach puts approximately 56% of affected users at risk of identity theft, account takeovers, or other cybercrimes, which could also result in major financial losses for companies handling sensitive consumer data. Experts advise companies to regularly update passwords, enable two-factor authentication, and train staff on cybersecurity best practices to mitigate the growing risk. Away from Nigeria, top U.S. and Chinese officials met in Geneva on Saturday in an effort to ease a growing trade war sparked by President Trump's sweeping tariffs on Chinese goods. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer held talks with Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, the first formal meeting since the U.S. imposed tariff levies last month. The talks, held in secret locations, were focused on de-escalation, not a full trade agreement. The tariffs, now reaching up to 245% on some Chinese goods and 125% on U.S. exports, have strained business ties and rattled investors. President Trump recently suggested reducing tariffs, but said China must make concessions. U.S. officials stressed that any rollback would not be one-sided, while Beijing insists the U.S. must act first to lift duties. Experts say the meeting as a positive step towards resuming economic cooperation between the world's largest economies. Though no breakthrough is expected, the dialogue itself signals a willingness to resolve the dispute. The World Trade Organization called the talks a constructive step in easing global trade tensions. And that's our story for you on the news update this morning at Souq News Television. On behalf of the news team, we say many thanks for watching. Do not forget to follow us on all our platforms at Souq News Television. Just Africa comes your way in a bit by Olumide and Priye. I am Grace Komalafe. Have a good morning.
The Trump administration has once again thrust U.S. immigration policy into the global spotlight with the recent announcement of a new voluntary self-deportation program that offers a $1,000 stipend to undocumented immigrants who agree to leave the country on their own. This incentive-based strategy is a calculated shift from the traditional, more aggressive deportation measures and is already stirring debate among policymakers, immigration advocates, and the public alike. The program, introduced in early May 2025, is being implemented by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It allows undocumented migrants to register for voluntary departure using the CBP-1 app, after which they will receive a government-funded flight and a $1,000 stipend upon confirmation of their exit. Homeland Security officials argue that this move is designed to save taxpayers significant amounts of money. According to data provided by the DHS, a forced deportation process costs the government an average of $17,121 per individual. In contrast, the stipend program is seen as a cost-effective alternative that also reduces the strain on overcrowded detention centers and court dockets. This new measure is a part of a broader, intensified effort by the Trump administration to curb illegal immigration and tighten control over the U.S. southern border. Since returning to power, President Trump has reinstated several policies from his first term, while introducing new ones aimed at deterring undocumented migrants. Deportation numbers have surged, with nearly 66,000 individuals removed from the U.S. within the first 100 days of his new term. Family detention centers, once heavily criticized for their impact on children, have been brought back into operation, while legal aid for unaccompanied minors have seen severe cuts. These developments come at a time when the United States is experiencing a historic high in its foreign-born population. As of 2023, nearly 47.8 million immigrants were residing in the U.S., with an estimated 11 million of them undocumented. Many of these individuals have lived in the country for over a decade, raising families and contributing to the economy. Immigrants, regardless of status, are a vital part of the U.S. labor force, contributing billions in taxes and significantly shaping industries such as agriculture, construction, and caregiving. Critics of the $1,000 self-deportation offer argue that the program may oversimplify the complex reasons behind undocumented migration. Many of those targeted by the program have deep roots in the U.S., including U.S.-born children, community ties, and long-term employment. Human rights organizations warn that such policies, while less aggressive on the surface, may pressure vulnerable individuals into making life-altering decisions without legal representation or full knowledge of their rights. There are also concerns about the ethical implications of offering monetary incentives for departure, particularly in cases involving asylum seekers or those fleeing violence. From a strategic standpoint, the administration insists that this approach is a practical way to reduce the migrant population without resorting to mass raids or extended detentions. Supporters say it offers dignity and a choice to undocumented migrants while protecting national interests. However, immigration experts question the actual effectiveness of the program, noting that similar efforts in the past have yielded limited results. The offer of $1,000 may not be enough to motivate individuals who have risked everything to seek better lives in the United States. The debate around this policy underscores the broader tensions within American immigration discourse, balancing border control and national sovereignty among humanitarian obligations and economic realities. With the 2026 midterm elections approaching, immigration remains one of the most polarizing and politically charged issues on the national agenda. In the wider global context, policies like this could set a precedent as other countries monitor the U.S. approach, especially those in Europe and parts of Africa facing rising migration numbers. Questions around voluntary migration, incentives, and state-led deportation policies are likely to spark wider international debates. What remains clear is that the Trump administration's latest move is not just a domestic policy, it is a bold, controversial experiment in reshaping the global migration conversation. I am Moyosore Adibi for Souq News TV.
Imagine a world without the roar of a lion, the flight of an eagle, or the rhythmic dance of ocean waves teeming with life. Wildlife is more than just the animals, their natural habitat. It is the lifeblood of our ecosystems, shaping the environment and maintaining nature's delicate balance. Yet, with each passing year, human activities threaten this balance. Deforestation, habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change are pushing many species to the brink of extinction. That is why World Wildlife Day is marked on every March 3rd, a global call to action to protect and preserve the rich biodiversity that sustains life on Earth. It is a reminder that wildlife is not just about the animals, it is about us, our survival, our food, our medicine, our future. Wildlife Conservation Finance, investing in people and planet, shines on a spotlight the urgent need for sustainable funding to protect ecosystems. It highlights the role of financial investment in safeguarding both wildlife and human livelihoods, because when we invest in nature, we invest in ourselves. From individuals to policymakers, businesses to conservationists, every tree saved, every habitat protected, and every species conserved is a step towards securing a healthier planet for future generations. As humans, let's act before it's too late. The fate of wildlife is in our hands, and in saving them, we just might be saving ourselves. Chike Okolo, Souq News Television.
Known as the father of African literature, Chinua Achebe was born on the 16th of November 1930 in Ogidi, now Anambra State, eastern Nigeria. He was born to Isaiah Okafor Achebe, a teacher and an evangelist, and Janet Anenichi Iluegbunam, a vegetable farmer. Achebe has reshaped the global understanding of African identity through the power of storytelling. Raised during the twilight of colonial rule, Achebe's education was steeped in both Igbo tradition and the Western values of post-colonial Christianity. As a student at the University of Ibadan, he became fiercely critical of how Africa was portrayed in Western literature. Achebe believed that Western literature often painted Africa as a dark and primitive continent, but he sought to tell the African people's lens. In 1958, Achebe's groundbreaking novel Things Fall Apart shattered colonial narratives through the tragic story of Okonkwo, an Igbo warrior. Achebe illuminated the complexities of African culture and the devastating effects of European colonization. Things Fall Apart became more than just a novel. It became a symbol of African resistance against the oppressive narratives of colonialism. Achebe was not just a writer. He was a passionate advocate for African self-determination, and his political activism made him a critical voice in the post-colonial era. Even after a life marked by personal and political struggles, including a car accident that left him partially paralyzed, Achebe continued to inspire. He taught at Bard College and later Brown University, where his influence reached new generations of writers and thinkers. He was married to Christiana Chinwe Okoli, and they had 4 children. Sadly, he died in March 2013 at the age of 82. Chinua Achebe's legacy endures in his novels, his essays, and in the countless voices of African writers who follow in his footsteps. He gave us a voice, a story, and a vision of Africa that is ours to share.
Lateef Jakande. Born Lateef Kayode Jakande in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island, Lagos State on July 1929. He studied at the Lagos Public School at Enuowa, Lagos Island, then at Bonham Memorial Methodist School, Port Harcourt, King's College, enrolled at Ilesha Grammar School, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. Jakande began a career in journalism in 1949 with a daily service and joined the Nigerian Tribune in 1953. The owner, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, appointed Jakande editor-in-chief of the Tribune in 1956. Jakande established John West Publications in 1975 after leaving Tribune and began to publish the Lagos News. He served as the first president of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, NPAN. Jakande ran for election as executive governor of Lagos State in 1979 on the Unity Party of Nigeria platform. His administration was effective and open and implemented the cardinal policies of his party. He introduced housing and educational programs targeting the poor, building new neighborhood primary and secondary schools, and providing free primary and secondary education. He gave poor people's children education, and many of them are now very prominent in the society today. Jakande established the Lagos State University and constructed over 30,000 housing units. After the military takeover in 1983, Jakande was charged, prosecuted, and convicted of treason and later pardoned. He served as Minister of Works under the Sani Abacha military regime. He died in Lagos on February 11, 2021. Lateef Jakande was the first civilian governor of Lagos State. Lateef Kayode Jakande, Souq Enlightenment.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked the CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the Outer Marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street. Souq enlightenment.
Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Bogaballs, and please keep watching Souq News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, Souq News, keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching Souq News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
My name is Shino Gbadegeshin. I'm the CEO of Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch Souq News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching Souq News, okay? Stay updated with Souq News.
My name is Aton Kame. I am the head of MSME Banking. Please keep watching Souq News and stay glued to Souq News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch Souq News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
Men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of three men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage and to usher in visitors and tourists into the ever-accommodating center of excellence is no doubt an astounding work of art. Originally built under the administration of Colonel Raji Rasaki, designed by Bodun Shodende in 1991 and standing over 12 feet high, referred to as Agba Meta or Aro Meta, the three sculptured chiefs were placed along the Lagos-Ibadan toll gate to welcome people coming into Lagos State. The statue called the Three Wise Men by many has become a major signature for the state. Three white-capped chiefs clad in white wrappers knotted across their shoulders and with clenched right fists are shown in the artwork. The images fascinate and create impressions in the minds of visitors coming into the state, captivating the attention of visitors who look with keen interest, pondering on the messages which the posture of the engraved images signifies. The Three Wise Men has been relocated thrice from its original position at Ojodu Berger end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to Magodo area before its final relocation to its present site at Olowopopo Drive. The sculpture has suffered severe damages over the years and renovated. Bodun Shodende, through this sculpture, depicted the highest honor that can be afforded to anyone in the Eko greeting tradition. The Three Wise Men, Arometa, Souq Enlightenment.
Hello and welcome to Just Africa. Today we are diving into something a lot of us have either considered or heard or scrolled past on social media. That is the Japa phenomenon. Now, if you're a Nigerian or even just an African, chances are you have heard the word Japa. But it's more than a slang. It's a movement. It's a mindset. And some would even say it's a modern-day exodus. But what does it mean for how we as Africans are seen abroad? And how are we representing ourselves in non-African environment? So let's start off with the basic. Japa. What is Japa? Japa is a Yoruba word that means to flee or to run away. It has become a default way young Nigerians describe migrating out of the country, usually for education, better job opportunities, or simply a shot at a more stable life. Now, Japa isn't just about escaping hardship. It's also about chasing dream. It's about being tired of governance, unemployment, and insecurity, and saying, I deserve better. But does fleeing the country mean abandoning it, or is there more nuance? Now, for many, the promise of life abroad is a well-edited TikTok or a highlight reel on Instagram. But let's talk about the flip side. Africans in the diaspora often face racism, xenophobia, legal burdens, and the exhausting task of proving your worth over and over again. There is also culture shock. Now, you arrive at a particular place and realize, you realize your degree may not be recognized, or the accent. I mean, you can be misunderstood, the food, it's not the same, and suddenly you are balancing who you were at home with who you are trying to become abroad. Now, so the question is, what version of Africa are we showing? Are we ambassadors of the continent rising, or are we stuck in the narratives of poverty, escape, and suffering? Now, let's bring it home. The brain drain is real. Doctors, engineers, creatives, they are all leaving, but there's also the brain gain. Diaspora Africans are sending money home, building businesses, and even running offices. And in some cases, it's not just about leaving. Maybe Japa is evolving into a diaspora that builds bridges back to the continent and not just burn bridges. I am Olumide Shokoya. Of course, I'm not the only one here. I have my co-anchor, Onyipriye Kumale. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Olumide, how are you? How was your weekend?
I'm fine.
Okay. Good morning to you, Nigerians. My name is Onyipriye Kumale. It's a brand new week, and we're in it again.
Yes, so, we're looking at the Japa. So, first of all, let me ask you, why haven't you thought of Japa?
Okay. I've thought about it many times. And for me, I will not consider it or look at it from the lens of escaping. Okay. However, those who are escaping the country in forms of jackpine, I would not blame them at all for anything. I would not count them as those who have done anything wrong or those who are leaving their motherland or their fatherland. There is a reason why they leave their country and they don't want to come back. And that is a source of concern, even for the government of our country. Yes. And for the political elite, for the political leadership, when people leave, maybe not just any kind of people. We are talking about doctors. When we talk about nurses, yes. We talk about teachers, we talk about other experts in the Nigerian economy, in the whole of the country, and they are living, and some of them go as far as selling their personal properties, yes, and their houses just to leave the country. Why are they doing that? That should be a source of burden for the government. And except the government makes law, makes it an emergency, and try to churn out policies to address it, we're not going to go anywhere. But the thing is, I was somehow disappointed when the Nigerian doctors were leaving the country before now and have the government during the Muhammadu Buhari administration time ably represented by the former Minister of Labor, Senator Chris Ngige, who came out and it was, stiff-neck against Nigerian doctors leaving the shores of Nigeria. In fact, he had to even criticize them that most of you studied in this country to become, full-blown professional medical doctors, and then Nigeria has really supported you by subsidizing the amount of money you needed to spend in the university where you educated yourself. And now what is required of you is that you're supposed to give back to the society. But the Nigerian doctors, most especially represented by the National Association of Resident Doctors in Nigeria, came out to, rebuff or give a rebuttal that you have not provided me the needed environment to stay. You have not given me what is required to make a normal life. Sometimes I had to go on the street to protest as a doctor before I get my monthly salary paid. And here you have people from Saudi Arabia, organizations from the UK, from the United States of America, and from other places like the United Arab Emirates, looking at Nigerian doctors. And history had taught them that, look, these guys are well studied. They are known and they've proven themselves not only locally in Nigeria, but also globally. And they are very, very competitive. In that sense, they came out and they started recruiting Nigerian doctors. So the government, if he is going to look at it, they came up with a policy that, look, you must, when you are certified as a professional doctor in Nigeria, you must be able to serve a 5-year term, 5 years before. That kind of policy is bad. It's a bad policy, and thank God we're done with that kind of policy. So if the government is going to treat Japa, not just in Nigeria, what the picture I just painted is all across the African continent. And if we are going to treat that to make sure that our best brains are not leaving the continent, they are not leaving our country to foreign shores. And we, our leaders are people who, journey outside the country a lot, and they've seen the way the brains and the experts in that climb, they are sustained. Then we should replicate the same plan, bring it back home and plant it to make sure that we keep our best brains here. If not, it's, for lack of a better word, whichever way government comes out against it is just going to be a story for the gods.
Quite an interesting one. So now let's look at, now, they say in every disappointment there's a blessing. As people are leaving this country, some are even coming into this country to invest. So it's a two-way thing. Now let's look at the representation, how we are represented outside. I know recently the United Kingdom, they are proposing stricter rules for their visa application. I think it has to do with, in a way, representation, or it has to do with how Nigerians are illegally entering the country or abusing these visa applications. And I remember when we spoke last week, we talked about, we even probed the United Kingdom that let them bring out this report, state the rate of crimes, the countries. Let's know who and who are perpetrating these crimes. So we know that, okay, if it's Nigeria, if it's this particular country, we know those who are perpetrating these crimes. Now, but let's stay on the positive side. Let's look at people who have actually represented us outside. One of the persons that come to my mind is Adebayo Ogunlesi. He's the chairman of Global Infrastructure Partners. In 2009, they bought the highest stake in the London Gatwick Airport. So basically, his company owns. Now, that is one of the people who are actually representing us. We have a whole lot. I mean, we have Shade Adu, we have Anthony Joshua, we have Adekayo Saka. We have a whole lot of these people who are, even Dr. Okonjo-Iweala also. These are people who have gone out. They've really represented us well. And I think, yes, when you go out there, when you get, especially when you get to an airport, there's a way, or should I say, it's an allegation of how you're being treated. They say Nigerians, they tell you to go to this side, and the rest, they go to this side, and you're wondering. I mean, it's not encouraging. It doesn't really encourage the spirit of unity and global oneness and all that. So what do you think? Do you think more Nigerians are representing us well outside, or do you think, let's look at the aggregate?
Okay, for me, first of all, I like the names you mentioned. Madam Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is the current Director General of the World Trade Organization, the first African woman to, to lead the World Trade Organization and to occupy that position as the Director General of the WTO. That's quite interesting. I like that. We can mention one guy, Mathai Wangari, who is an African that has really, promoted environment and the green energy and the greenery. Though she died, but she also won the Nobel Peace Prize. So if we look at Ellen Sirleaf, the former president, the first female president of Liberia. And she was the first person to occupy the presidential post in the whole of Africa, and she's a lady from Liberia, and she served from 2006 to 2000. I think she served for 12 years, from 2006 to 2018 as the president. Samia Hassan Suluhu, who is the current president of Tanzania, as we call herself, done well. She was a former vice president from 2015 to 2021. Now from 2021, now she's the current president of Tanzania. And let's not even forget that a whole lot of Africans and Nigerians who are doing us proud out there. So I don't really think the UK was talking about Nigerians. They were talking about criminals. And if we're talking about the current leader of the Conservative Party, Madam Kemi Madam Kemi Badenoch, that a lot of Nigerians have painted bad because of the way she speaks. She wasn't referring to Nigerians. She wasn't referring to Nigerians. So I think that's just what I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So today's topic is quite interesting. I mean, we will look at the Japa phenomenon. We're looking at the Japa phenomenon, diaspora representation on the African image and non-African environment. And joining us via Zoom is Mr. Joseph Akpo. He is a Nigerian in the diaspora, and so glad, to have him. Good morning and welcome to Just Africa.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right, so glad to have you here with us, joining us, and of course, we would like to get some of your experiences, the culture shock, everything that you went through. So let me start by this very first question. What led you to Japa? Was there a particular moment where you decided that, oh, I've had enough. I've had enough of this place. I am leaving. Let's have your thoughts.
Well, thank you for having me. I relocated for family reasons. It's not for economic reasons. I simply relocated because of family reasons. I got married and then we decided to relocate. That is why I relocated. So it's not for any economic reasons. There are so much great opportunities in Nigeria, and which could be explored. So my decision to relocate was not in search of greener pasture. It was just for family reasons. Can you hear me? Hello?
All right. We are having a bit of technical issues here. Let's quickly go on a short break, and of course, we'll be right back.
When you visit Lagos for the first time and Google fun or recreational places in the city, At the top of that list would be Freedom Park. Located in Lagos Island on Broad Street, Freedom Park over the years has become home to the Nigerian arts and the culture at large. From annual big shows like the Lagos Theatre Festival, celebration at the Lagos Poetry Festival, to local festivals that celebrate literature, music, and arts. Freedom Park is one of the most visited recreational sites in Lagos for both local and tourist people alike. A place to mingle, unwind, or simply just have fun. Freedom Park, however, hasn't always been a place of fun and games. It has a history that dates to 1861, when Lagos was made a British colony. In 1885, Freedom Park was built as a fortified prison from imported bricks.
Welcome back to Just Africa. We have Joseph Agbo. He's a Nigerian in the diaspora right here with us, and we're discussing the Japa phenomenon. So over to you, Joseph Agbo. All right, while we get him back, we were talking about Kemi Badenoch. Now, Kemi Badenoch, a lot of Nigerians have this disposition, let me put it that way, mildly, towards some of her ideologies about, what she feels about people coming into the country and people leaving the country. And a lot of people believe that it is really targeted at Nigerians. Let's put it that way. What do you think?
I don't think she's targeting Nigerians. Kemi Badenoch is the leader of the Conservative Party. The last time the Conservative Party was at the helm of affairs, the life Prime Minister was Rishi Sunak, who was there from 2022 to 2024. And now Labour has taken over. If you look at the history of the United Kingdom, you could see that Labour, the Conservative Party, is the political party that has always, produced the prime ministers. And each time Labour comes in to settle the move, there's a particular time that the Conservative Party occupied power for even like 4 consecutive prime ministers. So as we speak to you, Madam Badenoch is an opposition leader, and she's just doing the work of an opposition. And if we're to make comparisons, it's because Ms. Kemi Badenoch is a Nigerian. Nigeria being the most populous black nation in the world, and also Nigeria having about 300 or 400,000 Nigerians living in the United Kingdom. And it calls for concern, most especially with some of the statements she has made in the past that she grew up, when she was growing up in Nigeria, some of the bad things or some of the things that she experienced in Nigeria, which she has not experienced in the UK. Not to say that it has not existed in the UK, but the United Kingdom presented a more objective, a more free society, a more liberal society. And in a recent video, she was mentioning some of these liberal values like free speech, equality under the law, freedom, the presumption of innocence, where both the poor and the rich are treated equally in society. These are more like luxury in the political setting and in a social setting in Nigeria. So when she was speaking, she was not targeting Nigeria. She was just saying, because she's a Nigerian, Nigerians are going to respond to that. And I remember a minister equally himself responded, or the vice president, there is no need for that. She is doing the work of an opposition. And one of the jobs of an opposition is to bring out policies and to intimate the people that, look, we can present you a former government, a better government, a better administration by taking care of the ills in society. And some of the ills in society have been constituted by migrants that come into our country. And unfortunately, Africans happen to be part of it.
All right, we have Joseph Agbo on the line via Zoom. It's glad to have you back again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I was asking earlier on what made you decide that you were leaving the country, and how has it been so far, looking back the years that you've spent in the United Kingdom? Do you say it was worth that decision?
Yes, I don't know if you heard me the first time. My decision to relocate is on because of was for family reasons. I got married. My wife was domiciled in the United Kingdom, so I joined. That was over 12 years ago. So about 12 years ago. So it's got nothing to do with looking for greener pasture stuff like that. It's just family reasons, and we decided to live in the United Kingdom.
So another question: do you see yourself returning permanently, or it's bye-bye Nigeria?
Well, I've got four lovely kids, and they were all born here, and are all living in the United Kingdom. Yeah, there are chances. Never say never. There are chances that I may relocate at some point, but I intend to do some things in Nigeria business-wise. So definitely, I will be touching home regularly, and maybe at some point in the future, I don't know if I'm going to relocate permanently.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph Agbo. You are a legal consultant. So I would like to pick your mind, your thoughts concerning recent development, most especially by the leader of the Conservative Party, Madam Kemi Badenoch, whom whenever she comes to the press or to speak to the public about migrants, and she's pushing a recent bill in Parliament, Nigerians seem to take offense because they feel that she's demarketing Nigeria, demarketing Africa, and that she's trying to block Nigerians or other Africans from coming to the United Kingdom. What's the perspective?
All right. So as for Kemi, right, she is the leader of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom at the moment. I'm a member of the Conservative Party, and she's the leader of the Conservative Party. And one of the cheap cards that most opposition play when they want to win voters and stuff like that is they play the card of immigration. I remember I attended a conservative conference in 2013, and you can see the banner. It was that conference was held in Manchester. I think it should be that September or October 2013. The banner strictly says, "So cut down immigration, not to control." So their aim then was to cut down immigration. So immigration was a score point for most political parties. As far as Kemi is concerned, I know she's not going anywhere with the Conservative Party. She is just they are just fronting her to be the party that has shown. Don't forget that Conservative is the only party that has presented a female prime minister in the past. We've had Margaret Thatcher, and then we've had Theresa May. So they are using it as a ploy, diversity ploy, and now she's the first minority black, rather, from the black ethnic minority. She's the first black person to be the leader of any party, of any major party in the United Kingdom. So as for our comments generally is not targeted towards Nigerians. That's one thing some people should understand. I know she did grant an interview when she talked about our experience in Nigeria, but our recent comments, especially push for immigration reform, is not targeted at Nigerians. It's targeted at immigrants. Immigrants include those from Africa, those from Asia, even those from Europe now, because right now United Kingdom is not in the EU, and because we are not in the EU, that free movement is no longer there. So the policies she's pushing for is not targeted at Nigerians, it's not targeted at Africans, it's targeted at immigrants, generally speaking.
Thank you very much. Now, so what role do you think the diaspora plays in shaping how the world views Africa?
You see, I think there is a misconception. A lot of people think that it is what the individuals do that determines the image of a country in the international world. I don't agree with that. What determines the image of a country is the government, its policies, it's respect for human rights, and it's rule of law, not what the individuals do. So I know sometime in during the time of Goodluck Jonathan, when we still had the late Dora Akunyili, right? I think that's her name. Then the Director General of NAFDAC. She was later on. She was later minister for. I can't remember the portfolio she held then, but she tried to rebrand Nigeria, right? She did some rebranding stuff, But again, I'll say this again: it is not what the individuals do, because individuality does not determine the image of the collective. It is the collective image that rubs off on the individuals. So you may be a very honest person, right? You have integrity. If the value of your passport or the perception of the international community of your country is not so great, you will suffer when you get to the borders of some other countries. But if you're even the worst criminal and you have the passport of a country that's got good reputation internationally, you can easily, very, very easily cross borders. What am I trying to say? What determines the image of a country is not the action or inactions of the individuals. I agree that those have little roles to play here and there, but generally speaking, it is the outlook of the government, your economic policies, your respect for human rights, and rule of law in your country. Those are the indices that actually determines how the international community views you.
Let me quickly ask this question. There's a new policy Nigeria has brought up, the Nigeria First policy, which it's going to give room for the federal government, state government to procure made in Nigeria goods and services. Do you think that would also help in shaping our image outside the country?
Well, if we do made in Nigeria, we embark on made in Nigerian goods, right? And then we are also able to capitalize on exporting our made in Nigeria goods. Then obviously it's going to a large extent put our country in good light. Now, the China we're talking about today, some years back, China was not a country to reckon with, right? But one of the things that has made China so popular in the world today is their exports, their manufacturing capacity, and then they're exporting all over the world. And then number two, it's aside from shaping our image as a country, it also helps strengthen our naira, the naira, because right now the naira is very, very weak. Some people argue that the policies of the government of the day is good for the naira. Some says, oh, the policy of the government is what is destroying the naira and stuff like that. Well, whichever school of thought you belong to, if a country exports, a country is deeply involved in export, it helps their currency. So yes, it's going to help the country economically, which is good because, like I said before, the economics, the economy of a country, the political stability of a country, the respect for rule of law, the respect for human rights in a country, all of these are factors that play, in shaping the image of any country. So yes, if it's going to help in the economic front.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, let me take you to another side of our concern today. The United Kingdom and the United States of America, the remittances from the diaspora from these two countries to the sub-Saharan African country is about $54 billion. And Nigeria alone, gets remittance of $35 billion from that large chunk, about 35%. I beg your pardon, about 19 and $20 billion, which represents about 35% or more. Let's assume that this law of deportation and visa strict rules that Madam Badenoch is pushing, or the Conservative Party is pushing, goes through. where do you think we'll stand? Because it also constitutes a larger part, a large amount for which we use to pay foreign, the foreign exchange, and also it has a way of enhancing our economic market and our capital market.
Okay, let me correct some misconceptions. So I think she granted an interview very recently, a couple of days ago, and people were making different comments about our interview. Let me put perspective to it. So when in the UK, when we talk about deportation, deportation is only used for foreign criminals. I repeat myself. I'm talking as an immigration lawyer, so it's my area of expertise. Deportation is only used for foreign criminals that have been found guilty and have done their time, and there's a certain threshold you must meet. And after that, the Home Office can then commence deportation proceedings against you. That is what she was talking about. If you listen to her interview carefully, she said deportation of foreign criminals. There is no society that wants to allow criminals in their society, whether if there's a way they can even remove their indigenous criminals, they're going to do that. Then talk less of somebody who is a foreigner. So that I just feel it's good to clear that to clear the air on that. It's deportation has to do with, I don't know, for America, I don't know, the terminologies are different, but in the UK we don't use deportation for somebody who has overstayed. They are considered overstay. They can commence removal proceedings against you, but the process for removal proceedings is very, very tedious. It's not as easy as deportation. You get my point? You can even, on grounds of private and family life, you can even challenge the decisions of the Home Office. But I don't want to go into the technicality. So let's clear the air. What she was talking about is deportation of foreign criminals. Then number two, as regards the policy, yes, people should understand that. I know a lot of Nigerians who are emotional about this, but the truth is that the duty of a government is to protect its borders, right? Let me go back historically. There was a time that in Nigeria where they were having a problem, they were having problems in Ghana, and we had a lot of people immigrating into Nigeria from Ghana. And what happened? Nigerians themselves, they protested. And that is where that coinage of that bag they called Ghana Must Go came from, right? That was Nigerians protesting for Ghanaians to leave Nigeria. That doesn't even happen in Africa, where in Ghana, in recent times, I'm not justifying all of those. All of those are they're not great. Ghanaians. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about sub-Saharan African countries asking Nigerians to leave their country. That also happened in South Africa. As a matter of fact, that of South Africa, there was some element of violence involved. If the country is saying, if she is saying that, listen to me, the level of immigration is too much, we need to control it, we need to put measures to control it. It's not targeted at Nigerians, it's targeted at immigrants. And that is the role of a government. The role of a government is to protect, apart from the territorial integrity of their country, they also have to protect the economics, protect their citizens and stuff like that. She is not saying no immigration. She's just saying sensible migration. And as regards diaspora remittance, listen, that will not stop it because Nigerians are here. It doesn't mean that every Nigerian who is here will be removed from the country. No, they're still earning, they're still working, and obviously, the longer they stay in the country, the higher their chances of getting settlement in the country. So settlement simply means in the form of indefinite leave to remain or probably obtaining the British passports. So a lot of the Nigerians who send money to Nigeria, and they're actually citizens of the United Kingdom. They've got British passports. So that doesn't remove the Nigerianness in them, and they can still support Nigerians the way they've been doing. But all in all, what we should be looking at is how to develop our economy in such a way that we are not dependent on diaspora remittance to survive in Nigeria. Because the state of the country at the moment is not so great. That is why people have to look at for help to their relatives who are abroad.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Joseph Agbo, if you are looking for the time where Nigeria will no longer depend on foreign remittance. I don't think that time is going to come anytime soon. I just wanted to put that out before I ask my next question. Now, I want to bring out some of the laws, the deportation bill, some of which Madam Badenoch stated. She said, deport all foreign criminals. Yes, I think you've addressed that part. She said, mandatory age checks, tougher visa rules, tougher visa rules. Disapply the Human Rights Act to immigration cases. As an immigration lawyer, I will need you to throw more light on that, most especially with Nigeria in the center of the picture. Disapply the Human Rights Act to immigration cases and make asylum support repayable. I mean, these are very, very stringent rules that could have a very, very devastating effect of Nigerians going to the UK to go make even a genuine living for themselves.
No, all of these that you mentioned does not affect those who are legally in the UK. All the things you mentioned does not apply to those who are legally in the UK. It only applies to those who are seeking asylum are people who probably for convention reasons. Let's say you fear persecution because of your political inclination, your religious affiliation, your sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. And Nigerians generally, it's not a very it's not a popular thing among Nigerians to seek asylum. So if you countries like Eritrea and Ethiopia, Sudan, those countries that have serious civil unrest going on, they are the countries that will be mostly affected by this asylum seeking stuff. Those on that refugee convention. So all the things you listed, she only said tougher immigration rules. That's to say there should be a lot more scrutiny, because what happens is this. When people come into the country, right? When you come in and you claim to be a child under 18, right? The process of removal becomes very, very complicated. So that's why she was talking about the age verification. So you can have somebody who is 30 claiming to be 16. And because you are 16, they're not going to detain you. They're going to provide accommodation for you. She also talked about that asylum support.
Asylum support to be repayable. Yes, go on.
In the UK. Can you hear me?
Clearly, we can hear you clearly.
Yes, so if you seek asylum in the UK, right, even before you are granted, there are certain support that the government gives to you. So there should be a context to read. Well, she just outlined it. I've not seen the document to see specifically how she wants it to be implemented, right? Then I think you did mention
tougher visa application, tougher visa rules. Yes.
Yes, tougher visa rules. Yes, she did mention tougher visa rules, but again, tougher visa rules is a generic statement. What she means by tougher visa rules, I don't know. If it means that we should scrutinize more closely those who are allowing into the country, then of course that's a welcome development. But that is just a general statement. So what she means by tougher visa rules, I can't speak to that. Then she talked about the application of human rights, right?
Disapply Human Rights Act to immigration cases.
Okay, so when the United Kingdom was part of the EU, there's what we call Article 8 rights. Article 8 rights protects the private and family life of those who are in the United Kingdom that the government does not have the right to interfere. So what happens is that immigrants come in 1 year, 2 years, let's say they are not able to renew their visa. They then apply to stay in the UK based on their Article 8 rights. Whether they're going to succeed or they're not going to succeed is a different ball game. They just apply and then challenge the decisions. If the decision of the Home Office is not is not favorable, they then challenge it. That is the procedure a lot of people take. So she's saying so what she's referring to is Article 8 rights. That Article 8 right that protects interference with your private and family life. This is with respect to the context is within the context of immigration, not any other thing. The context is immigration, where somebody comes to the UK and then for some reasons they are not able to renew, they now rely on Article 8 right. She's saying that should not be applicable in some cases to immigrants. Again, the context is immigration wise. She's not saying that people should be discriminated against. It's just saying when we are dealing with immigration cases, we should not be applying Article 8 rights, which is family and private life, to immigrants who have only been in the UK for a couple of years, and then they want to claim that they are entitled, their private life in the UK should not be interfered by immigration processes to remove them from the United Kingdom. That's what all she's referring to. I'm just giving context to it.
All right, so in rounding up, what advice would you give anyone planning to Japa? I mean, you were lucky, or should I say, not everyone would have the luxury of getting married to a British citizen. So what advice would you give those who are planning to emigrate?
It's your choice to, if you want to relocate, it's your choice. Obviously, don't be scared by all the things you see in the news. There are legitimate ways to relocate. And if you relocate legitimately, legally, nobody can remove you from the country. We are in a country where law and order is respected. I can tell you there are several cases I've been involved in where the Home Office commences removal proceedings against somebody, and then the person is even there are even 2 cases in particular where these people were already put on a plane, and we commenced judicial review proceedings, and a judge just gives an order and says, don't remove this person until I have the opportunity of looking at the case. The Home Office had to, in 2 cases I have been personally involved in, had to get into the flights. Luckily for the people, the plane has not moved. The Home Office had to get into the flight to get the individuals out of the plane. That's because law is respected in this country. You understand? There's a rule of law in this country. It goes back to what we were talking about the image of a country where the rule of law prevails in the country, where there's respect for human rights of a country. It is not what the individuals are saying. Those are the things that determine the image of a country internationally. A lot of argued that, when you go to social media and you complain about what is happening in Nigeria, you're demarketing Nigeria. That is not true. Even the locals in the United Kingdom, they complain about this country. Go to America, Americans complain about their country. There's no country in the world where the individuals do not complain about their country. It is because you are not in their circle. So if you're not in their circle, you will not know what is going on. So every country, individuals always have things to say about their country. That does not affect the image of the country. What affects the image of a country is the government policies, the respect for human rights, the respect for the rule of law, our economic situation. Those are the fundamentals that affect the image of a country internationally.
Thank you very much. This is a safe place to land. We do appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll take a short break. And while we're at it, let's have Cashcraft. The topic for today is going green, cashing in the horticulture hustle. Stay with us.
Welcome to Cashcraft, the show that turns your skills and ideas into serious income. Whether you're just getting started or you're already in the business, we'll bring you practical tips, fresh opportunities, and real stories to help you grow, literally and financially. I am Grace Komolafe, and today we are digging into horticulture, a vibrant green world where beauty meets business. Ask me why horticulture, and I will give you a mind-blowing answer. So here is it. Horticulture isn't just about flowers. It's food, income, wellness, and sustainability rolled into one. From fresh fruits to ornamental plants, it boosts nutrition, urban design, environmental health, and jobs. With climate concerns rising and food needs increasing, horticulture is fast becoming the new oil. But where is the cash? Let's break it down. 7 green paths to profit, and I take it from 1. Plant nursery. Raise and sell seedlings, ornamental trees, herbs, shrubs, from balcony plants to estate palms. People pay to green their spaces. And 2, landscaping. Design and maintain outdoor spaces for homes, estates, offices. Think aesthetics plus recurring contracts. And 3, garden maintenance. Offer pruning, pest control, soil treatment, and seasonal cleanups. A steady side hustle for trained hands. And we move to 4, horticultural farming. Now, grow fruits, veggies, flowers, or herbs. Go organic, go premium. Target hotels, health stores, and home markets. And we move to 5, consulting. Breed new plants, varieties, advise firms, or supply rare seeds. If you are skilled, your knowledge becomes a product. And we move to 6, product marketing. Sell fertilizers, potting soils, seeds, tools, and even ready-to-use grow kits. Offline or online, green goods move. Tip number 7, training or education. You can host workshops, classes, or start a YouTube channel. Gardeners, enthusiasts, and students are hungry to learn. Now, whichever paths you choose, start with research. Visit local horticultural centers. Understand what grows in your region. Learn from experts. Your first harvest may not bring millions, but with time, this business roots deep. Remember, success in horticulture isn't only about soil, it's about strategy. So here is your takeaways on a world choking on stress, pollution, and processed food. Green is gold. Horticulture is low entry, high potential, and if done right, it fits both the body and the bank account. So, what number are you reaching for on a list of 7? All right, that's it for today on Cashcraft. Until next time, I am Grace Komolafe, helping you plant ideas that pay right here on Cashcraft.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an armed forces remembrance cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo Masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Market, Souq Enlightenment.
Welcome back. This is Just Africa, and you just watched the video, Cashcraft, and the topic was cashing in on the horticulture hustle. You know, I remember during Babatunde Raji Fashola's administration when he was all go green, plant trees, plant this and that. And Lagos is really hot, and that is, and of course we have houses everywhere. People are building houses. You know, there should be some sort of space. I think it's about 5 meters from the main road and from your house to the next house and all that. So he was trying to create an atmosphere whereby, you know, to reduce the humidity, or how will I put it, in Lagos. Also, we remembered vividly well when the First Lady of Nigeria, Remi Tinubu, a video went viral of her planting tomatoes, and she was encouraging Nigerians to also try and plant, you know, things in their backyards. You know?
Yes, I think one of the reasons why Fashola did that was it's not far-fetched. The sun is quite sunny, and in Lagos, making sure that during that time, when he was actually building roads in Lagos, there were actually spaces for trees to be planted in the middle of the city. If you go to the Federal Capital Territory, it's a culture that is well adopted by the administration, and it should be replicated all around the country, where we plant trees in the middle of it. And remember, the government spent lots of money in doing that. The thing is, it's about policy that each administration made. When the next administration is coming to the saddle, it should be sustained. When it is not sustained, you know, it brings this abrupt, you know, sudden extinction of that particular policy. And if the particular policy is serving a good purpose in society, then you bring that to end. The encouragement that the First Lady did is to make sure that Nigerians, in fact, most Nigerians that engaged in subsistence farming started from, you know, this horticultural practice of, you know, planting. There's a bucket somewhere, and they're putting some plants in it. In fact, when children go to school, when they go to school, they are taught about this, you know, practice of practicing horticulture, and that, you know, affords them the ability to even engage in rare studies like soil science and plant science, which, you know, they could see the art of planting a bean seed into a bucket or into a container, and they've been taught by their teachers to nurture it, to watch it grow. They see the development of it like something that's magical, and they intend to want to engage in that practice, and we should encourage that. It's most of the things that I will speak about, if we started it from the grassroots and we sustain it, we'll get somewhere beneficial with it.
Do you think the horticulture business in Nigeria, do you think it's a profitable business? And looking at the business aspect of it, we see all of them on the roads. If you're driving past, you see them on the roads and all. Do you think it's a profitable